All right, Phillip, welcome to the Micro Collector podcast. I'm super excited to have you on today.
Hey, nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Before we dig into Alternative Symmetry, I thought I'd share a little bit of a story of how we connected because I think it's just such a great reflection of what I love personally so much about the Microbrand space. So I think, if I remember correctly, I posted something on Instagram about my Microbrand collection that I'm building and a couple of different brands that I was considering adding to the collection. And you commented on my post saying, hey, I've got a new Microbrand that I'm launching. Why don't you check it out? I'd love your feedback. And I went on your Kickstarter and was blown away. Like, just the innovation in what you're doing and the thought behind all of it blew me away. And, here we are a couple weeks later talking on a podcast. I got your watch on my wrist, and I'm a huge fan. So again, I think this is something that's so unique about the Microbrand space that you could not just fall in love with a product, but make a connection with the person behind the product and their story. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, is to tell that story. So thanks so much for what you're doing with Alternative Symmetry, but also for agreeing to be on here and to tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's the start of a hopefully a long story. That's trying to build up.
I know you've been in the watch industry for a while as a designer. So maybe you can tell us about your background and how did you first get into the watch world in general?
Okay. I've been in the watch industry now for over 22 years, but I kind of got into it accidentally. I was actually in the vehicle design industry, and it wasn't really what I wanted to do. The projects were long, complicated. I enjoyed product design more. That's where I started in. And I was lecturing. I lost my job with MG Rover. It went bankrupt, the company, and I started lecturing in a university, which I studied at. A lady who I studied with came in to do a watch project from a company in the UK, and I was only working for the university 2 days a week. And she basically said, "Oh, my boss, I'm sure, would love to meet you. You should come and meet him. And yeah, if you like to design watches, obviously I work for a watch company." So long story short, yeah, I went. I put a little presentation together. Literally in 2 days, I put this little portfolio together about watches and went to see the owner. And yeah, 22 years later, I'm still doing watches. So it was kind of, I kind of fell into it.
Yeah, now you're the founder of a Microbrand, but if I looked at your background and I saw that those 22 years you spent some time at some of the biggest brands out there, or most recognizable brands out there. It looks like you were at Fossil for a number of years, you were at Movado, and now you've been running your own design shop. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the experience of working with some of these major brands out there. What did you learn, and how have you taken those learnings and brought it into your own design shop, and then now into your own, building your own Microbrand?
Yeah. So I basically I worked for the company in the UK for 3 years, and we were inspired by a lot of the brands that the Fossil Group had, like Armani, Burberry, Diesel. And after 3 years in the UK company, I kind of made myself a job at Fossil. And I approached them with a great visual CV, and it wasn't a job position, so I just kind of forward thinking and sent my CV. And I was meant to go to Dallas to the headquarters, but there was issues with my visa. So while they were trying to get me to Dallas, I went to Switzerland, and I was basically working with Armani mainly. But when I started, we were doing a bit of work on Burberry and a Swiss brand called Zodiac. And but I mainly, after that, worked on Armani. But the joy of working with the Fossil Group was all the different licensed brands that they had. Every day was exciting. We just literally designed the whole day. It was like a dream job. Every project was different, and it really kind of pushed you to learn about the different brands the thinking behind them, the stories behind them. So that was amazing. And then yeah, I was there for nearly 10 years in Switzerland with Fossil Group. They have an office called Antima there. And then after 10 years, I kind of wanted to change, wanted to look for something different. And I got approached by Movado Group and basically doing the same thing there, working with licensed brands. And then, yeah, the job wasn't really what it was meant to be. It was more kind of managerial. And I'm definitely a pure designist. And yeah, I struggled a little bit. So kind of we kind of parted ways. And I started Aspect Designing, which is the freelancing company to design for many brands. So, and that was kind of a dream, but I never had the confidence to do it. But leading Movado Group kind of pushed me because of the experience what I'd had, it just gave me the confidence to do that. And I wish now I'd have done it earlier, but a few people have told me maybe I wouldn't be in the right kind of mindset or have the knowledge. So, but I wish I'd done it earlier because I love it now. I can focus on brands that really have a story and they really want a designer. I think working with Fossil Group and Movado Group, you have your brands and you literally have to work with them. Now you take projects that are very different, the different watches, the design, the different price points, different type of brands. Some are well known, some are new. It's kind of it's exciting.
Yeah, and I think to your point, your experience working across a lot of different brands has given you the opportunity to understand what's missing out there in the watch ecosystem. And that's, I think, from what I'm seeing externally, what you've sort of brought to the table now with Alternative Symmetry, right? It seems like you're filling a gap that you saw in the market, actually a couple different gaps, right? In terms of the modular design and the sustainability. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about like that aha moment where you were like, you know what? This needs to exist in the world and I'm going to go ahead and pursue it.
So yeah, I mean, I started Alternative Symmetry probably around 6, 7 years ago, just as a thought, because obviously as a watch designer, you dream of doing your own brand, but it's a lot of work. And I was doing on the side. I didn't have the budget that I could just leave everything and just do my own brand. I don't have that kind of backing. So I had to do it on the side. And obviously working for all these big brands and visually being in the watch industry for so long, you see that everything is so straight, and there's nothing wrong with that. But all the indexes are straight, the hands are straight, and there's so many things you can do. And working with all these different brands kind of made me think, I want to do something that's not crazy different. And because it's still a traditional watch, but it's just that little slight change. I'm not going crazy. When I first started, I did something really crazy, and I thought, oh, I've got to sell this watch at the price point. So I kind of reeled it back in, and maybe the thinking from my kind of fossil days, it's got to be commercial as well. So it kind of toned down and became more commercial, and it's been quite a process to get it at the stage it's at now. And I played a lot of different thoughts on the extremity of that asymmetry on the hands, on the indexes. I basically sketched and designed lots and came up with this kind of this I call it like a graphical silhouette. So there's this graphical silhouette. And within the four watches, the dial language is all related to this graphic silhouette. And whatever I do in the future, it's always going to be on this graphical silhouette. I'm going to push like the graphic kind of boundaries to do so many extremities to the same graphic silhouette. And I'm actually, every time I see something on what I sketch, I'm like, man, that could be next. And it's exciting. I want to get on to the next one, but obviously I have to see if I can sell these ones first.
Yeah, well, I think from your Kickstarter success, it seems like you're doing an amazing job. It is resonating with people. Before we go a little deeper into the design area, I wanted to get for those that are learning about alternative symmetry for the first time, maybe you can tell us about modular design and modular watches and the concept, and maybe explain it to us if you have. I don't know if you have some of your watches by your side, but maybe you could show how the various components come together and how you can swap them to create your own, mix and match design.
I- So I thought about modularity because I mean I was inspired when I was in Switzerland. I went to like a it's not like a second-hand shop, but it's like you take your products there and they sell it and you get a little bit of money. You know what I mean? So I saw a Lego watch there. I still have it. I'm gonna do some cool posts with it. This Lego watch, and it was modular. And I did a bit of research, and a few people collect these, and I'm very jealous because they've got many parts. But it was back in, I think it was 1996 that they started this. And then since then, there's been many modular watches out there. There's quite a few brands doing it now. There's around 20, I think, successful brands doing modular watches. But it appealed to me because of me wanting to try different things. That naturally the modularity, the design side came to me that I want to produce something that it's not just a stationary watch. You can manipulate it and change it to whatever you're wearing, your mood, or if you've had enough of a watch for a certain time, you can change it. And also if you have the idea, because there's four watches, but there's a very distinct difference in the all four watches, so that you could wear one surface as like an everyday, and if it gets, naturally the material is going to scratch, but you can keep one for, let's say, a dress, so you keep that surface nice. So the idea is that you can swap the parts around to how you feel, how you want to present your watch.
Can you talk a little bit about what those parts are? You mentioned surface. Maybe you can show us a little bit about the various parts that make up your watches.
So basically, show this one here. It's just a simple system where I call it a surface, but it alters basically the case of the watch. So you just literally slide it on. Ooh, where's the camera? Rotate it round, and it links in a little pin so that you can align the screws. And you basically just screw the four Torx screws in. I wanted something very simple. There's a few brands out there that have very expensive locking mechanisms. And obviously because of that, because of the patents, they've got to charge a high price. And I didn't want any like kind of hassle, any pain, because I'm not great at paperwork of patenting something. So I thought there's so many watches out there with four screws, and I just thought, well, let's try and design something where it's got four screws that you can actually use. So I kind of came with the idea that you had this module, I call it, and basically you can attach it to it. So I designed in a way where I could get the four screws as close to the dial opening as possible so that it would feel more luxurious and not big and bulky, very kind of streamlined. And I think you have a watch and you've seen yourself, it just increases the quality feel about it.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, so you mentioned the surface, there's a module. It looks like from the watches that I have here that each watch also comes with two straps, and then there's the Torx screws, and you have the ability, obviously with the two straps that you have for your one watch that you buy and the surface, but also if you buy two, three, or you mentioned you have four different models, you can mix and match between them. And I saw on your Kickstarter, there's actually 512 combinations that you could do if you had all four watches, right? Which is really, really cool.
I mean, there's even more if you change the buckles and things like that. It push you even more. But I mean, I think we're going to talk about sustainability a bit later, but the reason I chose sustainable straps was that the strap market is huge, and the actual concept is I want to move beyond straps, but I actually love that there's so many straps and you can change the look. So I did the sustainable straps that you get two straps so you can choose, but they won't make an impact on the planet because they're made from sustainable materials. You can use your own straps or you can buy more straps and you won't feel guilty kind of thing that you're adding more to the planet.
Yeah, that was kind of the next thing that I realized about the watch. As I mentioned to you when I first went on your Kickstarter, the first thing that struck me was these are beautiful watches, right? And then I started to see the modularity of those watches and how you could change the design in various different ways. And then I learned about the sustainability, and it wasn't actually until I received the watch and even was looking at I sort of understood, okay, the strap is sustainable materials. That's really cool. When I received the watch, I noticed that the case that it came in was also sustainable, the box. And then even looking at the case back of this watch, I saw that it's recycled stainless steel, right? So it's amazing that you've sort of pushed sustainability to the limits, and added that on as an additional feature so that, again, people don't have to think about, the impact that they're having on the planet. They know that they can enjoy these watches, but also feel good about, backing a project and supporting a brand that thinks about these sort of things. Maybe tell us a little bit about what made you think about that, what made you decide to invest in that, and maybe what were some of the decisions that you had to make, the trade-offs maybe that you had to make, if there were any, to ensure that this was not just a great product to wear and beautiful, but also something that actually is aligned with the planet.
So I decided early on that this product had to be sustainable because the idea that you change parts, you can keep them for longer. Because a lot of time, something we talk about in the watch industry, watches are often they're throwaway. At a certain price point, you wear them till they're literally nothing left, and you throw them away. But the idea was here that is before it gets too bad, you can change it up, or you can use a part to wear to work, or if your watch is getting a lot of abuse doing something, you wear a certain surface for that. But it started with the sustainability of the straps, and it just led on to everything after that. Like I said before, it's like I wanted people to use their own straps or buy straps because I've been experimenting with lots. I've got some here that I'm going to start posting soon, and because they look amazing. But I wanted certain straps to go with the case head, so the surface and the module, and that's why I'm selling them as sets as tonal, because you get them from me tonal, but then you can create what you want. Either you buy the watches to mix and match. I give you the one strap that's not tonal so that you can see if that's what you want. And from there, it just basically everything went into it. My biggest regret is I didn't find the solar power module. So I did 4 different modules, and because I'm launching these, I wanted a distinct difference. So I did the automatic, the digital, the skeleton, and then the chronograph. And there kind of wasn't room, and we kind of moved on. But the next designs will definitely have a solar power movement because it just makes sense. And then yeah, like you say, went into the travel pouch that you don't just keep that packaging there. You can use it, and it's complementary. A lot of brands now they sell them as separate, and I wanted it as part of the experience. And even the tools, so you have the tools in case you buy another product, you can still use them. And then yeah, the box, and then yeah, even I did everything with the design of the packaging. And there's gonna be a story coming up about that. Um, so it could be the smallest, tightest possible. So to send, it's cheaper for the consumer. It's less space to move around, and obviously for me to receive the watches as well. So I was trying to think about everything.
Yeah, it's clear that a lot of thought went behind it. One question that I've been eager to ask you as I've been playing around with my watches and switching up the bands and the surfaces and all these different things is, do you have a combination that's your favorite or a set of combinations that's your favorite so far?
I can't really say I have a favorite. It's like, I guess that I like my children. I love them all, or I love them all equally. But yeah, I put one together that's kind of stayed together. So I always have that with me because it's a mix of different ones. So I'll show you. I'm not saying it's my favorite, but it's the one I seem to wear the most.
Mm, I
So
love that combination.
I think it highlights what I was trying to do. So it's using the skeleton movement, so the sand color, then it's using the Tide recycled surface. So it's that kind of this light gray with kind of light brown speckles, which goes with the movement. Sorry, the module, the sand module. And then I used the black strap from the digital. And I
Yeah.
kind of I, don't- I do like the Tide surface because it's come from obviously photos from the ocean. I do like that, and maybe that's something I will look at further. That I maybe only use the kind of Tide material in the future. But I think I won't limit it to that. But it's the one I wear the most.
Can you tell me a little bit about maybe some of the challenges that you came across on this? Either just building a microbrand in general, or again, there's different layers to this project, right? There's the modular aspect, there's the sustainability. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced so far in the journey?
Probably timeline. I mean, you got to think. I've been designing watches for 22 years. So I've done so much. You know, the first job I worked at, we had over 120 brands we were working. I mean, there was 7 designers, I think, at the time. And then Fossil Group had around 20 big brands, and then the Vivado Group, very similar. So I've designed so many different watches, and even for my own brand, I'm working with over 40 different brands now in 7 years. So I mean, within those brands, some groups have other brands. So I've just done so much, you know. So designing so many different types of watches, like all different types, military, diving, sport, dress watches, futuristic watches. The watch really wasn't the problem. The problem to me was the timeline because I had the work on the side, and this was always getting put to the side because I had deadlines to finish, and I was enjoying this, but it ended up taking so long. Like I say, nearly 7 years, nearly, you know, to do. I know it's 4 watches, but it's still a long time to produce. So I've had this kind of I've had samples, I've had prototypes, I've had like the 3Ds, I've had the 3D prints, I've had the sketches, I've had everything for so long, and it's just took so long to get to this point that I think the biggest obstacle for me was the general everyday, you know, the day to day, and trying to get this watch out.
Yeah. I saw that you had a very successful Kickstarter campaign. I think you funded it. It was 336% funded. So there's definitely interest in the project. Did you find, knowing that timeline was a big challenge for you, did you find that Kickstarter was actually a good forcing function, right? To get on a specific timeline, to have now it sounds like you're in delivery mode for those original backers. Have you found that to be what has been your experience with Kickstarter, and what have you learned, and has it been a good avenue for launching a watch because it put you on this trajectory and timeline that is sort of a forcing function?
Yeah, well, I guess I became like a Kickstarter junkie because I was looking at it every day, getting the posts from them. And for me, it was a bit of an anticlimax because I know that obviously the whole industry around crowdfunding, and Kickstarter is the original and most successful. And so I was watching it for so many years, and I think I was disappointed with what they gave back. You know, you followed it for so long, and I found once you uploaded everything, that was kind of it. They were like, yes. And I thought, because I've worked with brands that uh obviously launched on Kickstarter as well, so I know the output, but I didn't know the kind of input. And actually using it myself 100%, yeah, I think I was a little disappointed that there was no kind of care. Once they'd got you signed up, once you uploaded everything, you kind of left alone. And I found myself asking questions um, on Google all the time for for Kickstarter. Yeah, I don't think they're so proactive as a group. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think they're at maybe a certain scale now where it's hard for them to give direct support to every single project. But that's interesting to know. I've never launched anything on Kickstarter. Like you, I'm an avid Kickstarter junkie looking at projects, especially watch projects. So it's interesting to hear from the other side. I will say that you've done a really good job detailing your project on Kickstarter. There's lots of videos. There's a lot, I think, with your project, there's a lot of education that needs to be done and to really get somebody to see all the thought and all the different benefits that come from the collection that you've built. And you've done a really good job on Kickstarter. So I'm interested you mentioned, I was going to ask you what's next for you. You mentioned the website. Tell us about what's next. Is the website, and then where are you going to take this from here? Where's Alternative Symmetry going from here?
Okay. I just want to say, with Kickstarter, I was disappointed at the end, but it was an amazing tool to present all what you just said, the story, and but that's it. Then there's a whole world of marketing, and if you've got the budget, you can sell anything on it, I think. And that was my kind of disappointment. There was no push for innovative products. I was a bit disappointed with that.
Interesting. Interesting.
Going back to your
But yeah,
question.
tell us where you're going next. It sounds like you're launching the website. That you have a couple additional designs in mind, a couple different materials, sustainable materials that you're thinking about exploring. I would love to hear what we can expect from you.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a realist, so I'm kind of a safe guy. I have to see what happens if people like the product, if people start following it. I mean, that's the most important thing. Without the following and the backing, or and it won't continue. So I'm gonna monitor how it gets on. I obviously have lots of ideas what's next, the website first. But yeah, I my hope is that it does do well, because I have so many ideas for the different modules that you can swap up, and the different surfaces. And on the launch, I've kind of played safe. So I want to do the next round where possibly two are a little bit not insane, but a little bit crazier, and two are safe, even safer than this, let's say. So you can mix up the insane crazy and the super safe kind of thing. And then yeah, exploring the materials that come with it.
That's awesome. I'm really excited to see the crazy ideas because I do think, and I think I've seen you mention this. Either it was on the Kickstarter or it was on your Instagram. The watch industry does need a little bit of pushing of boundaries, and I think you're already doing that with the watches that you've launched. But I think we have some exciting things in store to see how you push the boundaries next. For people that are listening to this that are really loving your journey and what you're building, and they want to follow along, maybe they even want to buy the watches. I know the Kickstarter campaign is done now. Where can they go to learn more? Where can they go to follow the brand you? And also, where can they go ultimately to buy the watches?
So that will be on the website when it launches, hopefully, end of January. That's my deadline. It seems to be on track at the moment. So yeah, it'll be on the website. Yeah. But you can always look at the Kickstarter campaign. If you go to Kickstarter, just type in Alternative Symmetry, and you'll find the project there. And like I say, it really presents the story well. Like the website will be a little different. It'll be a bit more focused on obviously sales. So the story will be there, but it'll be highlighting the watches more. And obviously, look out for me on Instagram. And that's other things that I've got to get the obviously Alternative Symmetry Facebook page, LinkedIn. I don't know if I'm going to do TikTok. I'm not great with social media and all that kind of stuff. So this is all very new to me as well. So posting every day or trying to post every day. So yeah, I mean, I've got to get the website out. And once that's out, then I can focus more on the content, the videos and imagery, and pushing it onto different platforms.
Well, I think you don't give yourself enough credit. You clearly a very talented designer, a very good human being in terms of the focus on sustainability. And I think you're a very good marketer. Again, I was very impressed with your Kickstarter. I've been impressed with your social media, and I'm really excited to see the website come together and the new materials and the new models that you bring to the table. So, Phillip, thanks so much for taking the time to join me today, giving us a little bit of a look at the story behind Alternative Symmetry. And I'm really excited to continue to cheer you on from the sidelines.
That's cool. And obviously enjoy your watches. You took the gray and the sand, so the skeleton and the chronograph. It's a cool
Yeah, I
combination.
did. I love them so far. You know what? The skeleton surprised me how much I love it. I knew I was going to love the gray, the urban. The skeleton has actually the one that's on my wrist the most so far. And I'm really excited to start swapping out the different components and mixing and matching. I think I got my eye on that digital as well, especially the straps. So as you said, there's a lot to explore here. So I'm really excited to take that exploration to the next level.
The digital with the 004 gray from the chronograph surface looks amazing. I love this. I love this.
I'll have to try that one next for sure. So, well, thanks again, Phillip. And we'll continue to cheer you on from the sidelines and, have a good rest of your day over there.
Well, thank you very much. Great talking with you.